Welcome to our Common Sense channel. Today's topic is the reasons Black community are not rich and powerful in the UK and the USA. Devon Morgan is a writer and researcher. Two of his books are Demystifying Cancer, Exposing the Deception of the No Cure for Cancer, and The World Common Sense Challenges. They are available on Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, or directly using the email address in the description. So greetings, Brother Devon.
Greetings, Brother Tarka.
What led you to think about the lack of wealth and power in our communities?
From observation, we should all notice that the majority of goods and services we need that are supplied to us in our communities are not supplied by us. This suggests that we are not very business minded. If we are not confident and organized to supply the majority of goods and services we need to each other, it's it's a definite sign that we are not business minded. It is the easiest thing in the world to sell to each other, or it should be. Even in countries where we are the majority of the population, we are not the ones that run most of the businesses, especially medium and large businesses.
So, what is the consequence of this reality?
A people who are mostly consumers cannot be prosperous in this situation. A study has shown that a single pound, for example, circulates 28 days in an Asian community, 20 days in a Jewish community, 17 days in a white community, and only 6 hours in our black communities.
So, explain to our audience how this affects our prosperity.
Okay, let's say you didn't have any money, Brother Tarka. If I bought a pot from you for £10, you now have £10 and I have a pot. If you then spend that £10 with me for some food, we both have something of value for the same £10. Now, if I had spent that £10 with someone from a different community and he didn't spend it with me, I don't get the extra benefit of that £10. And because I didn't spend it with you, and you don't have any money, you would not be able to buy food from me. From the more money that circulates between members in a community, the wealthier the community will be. So this is what the illustration is about. So this circulation will only be powerful, however, if we provide more goods and services so that we can truly practice circulating the black pound. We need to produce more goods and services than we do right now. We are far too limited in the range of goods and services we provide. Here's Dr. Claude Anderson speaking about culture as it relates to wealth.
It's not the money, it's a culture that we're raised to buy only from our own people. We'll only work for our own people. Chinese say, we'll never hire any black folk. You're never going to go to a Chinese restaurant or Chinese anything and find black folk working there. We only hire our own people. We only buy from our own people. We only support our own people. You black folk will buy from any and everybody because you don't have a code of conduct. It doesn't mean anything to you. That's why you all can't get ahead, because you don't play as a team. You all play as individuals. And you listen to these black activists on the streets saying, we're not a monolithic people. You know, just because he did it, we don't have to do it. He's wrong. All of you should play as a team. Even if you don't like something that the group is going to do, you should play along with the team, and so that you got team power. Wealth and power follows the numbers. If you haven't got a lot of blacks with you, you're not pooling your money, pooling your votes, pooling your attention, pooling your interests, pooling your labor, then other people will pick you clean and cherry.
So, is he saying culture is a major factor?
Yes, we need to develop a strong identity and culture. And I advise our audience to look at our video we did about Do Black People Have a Culture. Now, one aspect of this culture has to be a business mindset. And not just a business mindset, but a big business mindset.
This sounds like a major task.
It's not very difficult if we start with future generation, reprogram them. That is, their minds are open to new ideas. They will be more receptive to teamwork and more comfortable taking risk in pursuing profit instead of the comfort of wages. For most of us, once we become adults, we have already been indoctrinated into the job and wages mentality. and it's hard to change this. I have tried for many years and failed.
So what happened?
I'll give you an example. Many years ago, I read a book called Think and Grow Rich, and I tried hard to get everyone I knew to read it with very little success.
So what is so special about this book?
Oh yes. Yeah. For the first time, I realized that there is a formula for success, and it wasn't a case of our keeping our fingers crossed and hoping for the best. There's a mental science to success. I then realized why we were the least successful group. I wanted I wanted the people I knew to read it because I thought it would enable them to have more confidence for us to do business together. It didn't work. Now, years later, my history teacher, Robin Walker, read it and came to the surprising conclusion that about 90% of the principles in the book are based on ancient African principles.
That's amazing. Why did
Yeah.
you get so much resistance to read a book like this?
Now, apart from the fact that serious reading is not very popular in our communities, skepticism was a major factor. Those of us who are not serious readers have no idea that solutions to most problems are in books. And until I read this book and many others, I didn't realize this either. Now, I knew skepticism was a factor because once in a while, when I talked about this book, to the people I'm trying to get it to read it, someone would ask me, "How come you are not rich since you have read the book?"
So what would you tell them?
Now, the book has 13 steps to riches, and one of them is teamwork. So we need each other to achieve above average success, especially because of the obstacles we normally face. The ideas in the book are not based on magic. It has practical instructions of how to achieve. We used to be great traders when we were in Africa. However, one of the consequences of our recent oppressive history is the loss of this aspect of our culture. At least it has been greatly diminished.
Is a business mindset enough to solve this problem?
If we develop a big business mindset combined with a strong cultural identity, we will regain our instinct to do teamwork. Teamwork is also necessary to gain power. Here is a brother giving a powerful illustration of how the lack of teamwork affects Black Americans. It is a tragedy that the same illustration applies to all Black populations and communities. Let's play this tape.
And this is a chart that I think says in another way what he so profoundly provided us today. This chart to me represents beautiful, educated, moneyed Black people all over America. It could represent Black organizations, it could represent Black churches, it could represent Black social and civic organizations. And what you will notice about these beautiful Black people all over America is that everybody is doing their own thing, caught up in a Eurocentric value of rugged individualism, having forgotten that it takes a village to raise a child. There is no power here, brothers and sisters. There is no power here. Power is most effective concentrated. You can take a 55-gallon drum of water, spill it over, it will disperse, find its own level, and eventually evaporate. You can take that same 55-gallon drum of water, put it under pressure, put a lid on it, put a hose in it, put a nozzle on the end of that hose, and it can cut concrete. There is no power with us being disconnected. See, there's nothing wrong with dispersion. I live in Cleveland, you live in Atlanta. We have folk in the Caribbean, we have folk in Africa. That's dispersion. That's okay, but we do not have to be disconnected. We are a disconnected people. We are powerless in disconnection. This is where all the power is. You see? This is where all the power is. Whether you are at the center of your own network or part of someone else's network, this is where the power is. There's a beautiful African proverb that says, when spiders unite, they can tie up a lion. When we connect, because we are disconnected. We're disconnected from those of like mind. We're disconnected from the best practices in our community. I don't care what it is that you want to do, what profession you want to engage in, what business you want to get into. I can introduce you to brothers and sisters all over America they are doing it to death. You just don't know who they are. You are disconnected from them. There is no power in disconnection. Okay? When we connect, we prevent interlopers from coming into our communities and taking and destroying at will.
All right, George.
Try to open up the Booker T. Washington delicatessen in Chinatown and see what happens. So we must connect. We must connect the dots. That must be the movement for our people in the 21st century. We need a lot of us doing a little instead of a few of us doing a lot. We need to get together to get ahead.
What he said should be common knowledge.
Yes, and if we have not thought about this, it is simply because we are victims of accepting that it's normal for us not to have communities like Asians and other wealthy communities. This makes sense for us to think of this as normal since we were born into this reality. However, the unfortunate reality is that our leaders and Black conscious intellectuals are not engaged in at least organizing a system of networking to gain influence, which is the starting point to gaining power. Influence and wealth equals power.
So why do you suppose they have not organized such a system?
It could be one of several reasons, or several reasons in totality or something. We are not used to teamwork, number one. Number two, it has not occurred to them that the size of our problem requires a large team. Number three, perhaps deep down they don't think our problem can be solved, and they are just enjoying their call to fame and don't want to share their space with anyone else. Number four, they think what we are doing is enough to solve our problems. Hopefully, we can inspire our audience to want to change this mentality.
So do you think if we were rich and powerful, we would be more capable of protecting ourselves against racism?
Yes. When we experience racism, have we got political or financial power to come to our defense, or do we have money to hire the best lawyers?
No.
Do we think it's wise to live in a system that has systemic institutional racism, the type that killed George Floyd, and not aspire to work as a team?
Absolutely not.
The illustration of how to gain power that the brother demonstrated is correct. However, we can prescribe a remedy to a people that is correct advice, but words on their own will not work.
So why not?
Now look, it took years of slavery, colonialism, promotion of white supremacy, miseducation, and a lack of knowledge of our great history to program us to behave the way we are now. This will not change by a few words. After over 400 years of not being responsible for the raising of our families, our direction, our destiny, it will take an extensive program of social engineering to produce the type of people who built the Great Pyramids, who built the Great Pyramids and had great empires and civilized the world. It will take time to replace our current program. It can only be achieved through an intense education program. A program that will make future generations innovative business people who are naturally into teamwork and capable of competing in the current system.
This makes sense.
Yes, the power of teamwork cannot be overstated. Here is a sister giving a powerful and actual situation that demonstrates the power of teamwork. Let's play this tape.
I'm going to try to tell the shortest version of this story possible. Years ago, there was a famous mathematician. His name was Yuri Treisman, taught at UC Berkeley. And in his class, his Asian students were doing amazing and his black students were flaming out of that class. And so this bothered him. He asked his colleagues, why are they flaming out? And his colleagues gave him a bunch of answers like, well, maybe they came from unprepared schools and, maybe they just don't understand the rigor. And he was like, nah, you can't get into this school without having like the academic chops, like something is up. So he asked his black students, he said, can I observe you for the next couple of weeks and just see how you're engaging with this material? And what did he find? He found that the black students were actually studying more than the Asian students. But the key was they were studying alone. And the Asian students were studying in community. Fast forward, he made it mandatory that everybody would learn in groups and have learning communities. And within a couple of semesters, the black students were doing equally as well as the Asian students. What's my point? Stop trying to do everything by yourself. Stop struggling in isolation. Stop pushing help away. Stop feeling like I don't need anybody. Like, no, okay? Life is hard. And you can only take yourself so far. Self-made is never entirely self-made. Somebody had somebody somewhere give them a hand, an aid, a chance, something. So stop trying to do everything yourself and see how far you get this year.
This story is confirmation that we don't naturally do teamwork and how powerful teamwork can be. And it's unfortunate that this is not a natural instinct for us to do. Now, please join our team and help us grow by subscribing, liking this video, leave a comment and share. And I will see you in the next episode.
So same from me. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like the video, and leave a comment.